Hey Richard, it's good to see you here. I'm glad you can join me on this live. And okay, so I think everything is working well. Okay, so there's a few things that I want to talk about in this live, but first of all, I just want to clarify about my previous live about the fact that I don't want to be a YouTuber because I have received several comments and it seems like people have misunderstood me or didn't quite understand what I was saying in my previous life. So I want to clarify on that point that when I said I didn't want to be a YouTuber, what I truly meant was that I didn't want to have the title of being a YouTuber because this is I don't see it as who I am. So therefore, what I want to do with this channel is give it a simple, just a channel for people to get to know me, and for me to share the messages and how I can help people out there to live a better life. And I don't have to constrict myself under the title of YouTuber in terms of contents, which means that like if you see other YouTuber like doing certain type of videos, then you would expect my channel to do a certain type of videos. So that's what I mean. Like I want to have my freedom. Hi Becky. I want to have my freedom to come up and create content however that I feel like it, or something that comes out to me and it needs to come out there. And so I want it to be a free form, and it doesn't mean that I'm not going to post any more videos. It just means that this simply just a channel for sharing messages. So let's just keep it simple like that. Hello Claire, glad you can join me from England. So I'm not a content creator, even though I post content on YouTube. I'm not a YouTuber, so that means I'm not making any money out of YouTube right now. Neither it is. So having said that, it also means that I'm not going to be on Patreon for the moment. That's not what I'm seeing. That's not the direction that where I want to go at the moment, because I don't want to focus my career on the train of being a YouTuber, but I want to create pretty much something else. It's just a channel for people to get to know me, to know my messages. So hopefully that we can be clear on that. And yeah, so I'm gonna keep posting videos however way that I feel like it's relatable to people and I can help people. And for in terms of the content, like I'll be happy to yeah, so thank you Becky for understanding that. So in terms of the content, I'm actually very much open for any of your questions, and I love having your questions. So I love reading on your questions, and because that gives me an idea of what people are going through and what I can do to share my knowledge in however way that I can help people. And so instead of like give me a suggestion about what other like channels are doing, just tell me like what you need and where you are. Oh, how's Marco? He is sleeping. He's not very he has not been feeling well these days. He has kennel cough, so he's just resting. most of the days I know. Like, and it's been too cold, so he doesn't go out so much. So I would appreciate more that you would share with me your challenges, your struggles, and what you're going through in life, and like how you are drawn to this lifestyle, and how I can use my expertise and my knowledge to help people out that way. So that's something that I would appreciate more from my viewers, instead of just giving me suggestions of like what other people are doing, or what other channels are doing, and just expect me to do the same thing, because what they're doing may not necessarily the same as what I want to do. Or like what they know, I may not know a certain type of content either. So that that is something I want to get clear of, that not the kind of expectation that I want to put on me, and that's something that I want to release. So hopefully that we can clear that out. But in any way that I can, thank you so much, Claire. In any way that I can help, and in any way that I can share my messages and my knowledge, that's how I want to see my channel for now. Okay, so on that note, I would like to use this time in this live to answer some very, very great questions from you, my viewers. And hopefully Krishna can join me. I don't see Krishna. I saw Krishna's from last live, because he asked a very good question. And Krishna question is, based on your perspective, what do you think about religion and spirituality? I thought, because I actually got stuck with this for quite a while as well, and recently that it just dawned on me when Krishna asked me that question, like, what is your perspective about spirituality, and what is religion? Because I was born in a Catholic family, and my family was really, really strict. So yeah, I was raised as Catholic. I went to a Catholic boarding school when I was little, and my mom is super, super religious, so there was a lot of rules, a lot of curfews in my family, and so you can see like how I guess that's the reason why I'm so rebellious, and like that's why I think that's where my value for freedom comes from, because that's something that I didn't have when I was little, and that's why I have the strong desire for freedom. And so until the last couple of years, actually for many years I realized that I didn't like Catholic, and that it didn't make sense for me, but I didn't know so much about spirituality and what this really is, until just about a little more than a year ago. Then I met someone who exposed me to, which is most people think, what spirituality really means, based on the fact that if you see people who do meditation or who do yoga, then you would think that those are the ones that are spiritual, and the ones that not doing anything, even they don't believe in any religions, then they not qualify as being spiritual. So I have thought about this as well, and what I realized is that religion is basically something that is structural and is dogma, and it is dogmatic in a way that there are certain rules that we have to follow, and if we don't follow, that we are condemned as sinful. Where spirituality, for some people, they think that spirituality are the ones who keep chanting Om the whole day, or doing meditation, or doing yoga, or have to be eating vegan food and all that stuff, or like have some kind of rituals going on. But that is actually not necessarily true. because if you look into the scientific fact, like what the spirit really means, spirit is basically just your energy, because you basically have your energy, your vibrations around you. Yes, that's right, Claire. Like, I do think that spirituality is all about being free. Not necessarily that you have to do like all of the things the spiritual do during meditation and yoga to be a spiritual. Like, we are at our core spiritual. Like, baby is spiritual. Everyone is technically spiritual on some level because we are spirit being, like this spirit within us. So that's why we have energy and aura and everything around us. So if you don't believe in energy, just like rub your hands together, then you will feel the energy in your hands, that you feel heat and cold in your body. So that is energy, right? So that is basically because you are a spiritual being, so you are just naturally spiritual, so you don't have to be so you don't have to be in any way like doing meditating or yoga or like eating vegan food in order to be spiritual. Hi, Maury. um, so in that sense, like, because everyone can be spiritual, and because spirituality is free, it's spirituality is equal freedom to me, whereas religious, you would have to put a structure and definition around it to understand what different religion is. Because if you practice yoga and meditation, and eating and have rituals and eating just vegan food, if you put a structure around it, that would be a religion as well. It's just a different type of religion than Catholic or Muslim, right, or Hindu, right? So with spirituality, there is just no definition in my understanding. It's just it's just what it is, and it's just free. Everyone is spiritual on some level based on what belief. As long as you have as long as you have a heartbeat, as long as you follow your heart, you are spiritual. You don't even have to be like doing any kind of meditation. As long as you have intuition and you understand yourself, you are spiritual. Because like I have known people, the one that actually exposed me to spirituality, he thought he was very spiritual, because he religiously follow a strict rituals every day, every single day, that he has to do certain things in order to be spiritual. And he didn't think that I was spiritual because I didn't do all those things. But however, the good thing that he has brought into my life is that helped me to understand more about meditation, and now I have brought meditation into my daily practice. So I understand that doing this is for my well-being, but not necessarily. I wouldn't call myself a meditator because I am spiritual. So it's like you don't go and do exercise. Like, you don't go to the gym every day and exercise and call yourself being a spiritual. So I think that's the two difference of like spirituality and religion, because spirituality is all about freedom, and there's no definition, there's no structure. It just is. It just is. It's yourself as a human, as a spirit. And religion is basically you take a certain you define the spirituality in a certain way, and you put rules and you put dogma around it, and you have to follow that certain dogma and rules. And so that's not something that I believe in. I used to, but I don't believe in it anymore. I don't find that is helping my life in any way. So I stopped following religion and I just follow my inner guidance, what I feel like the right thing for me to do. And if you have that intuition, if you have the inner guidance, then you are spiritual regardless. Regardless any practice that you choose to do, any meditation and yoga, it just helps you to be more in tune with who you are and getting to know yourself more. So those are basically the tools to help you to bring out that spirit voice a little louder, but it's not necessarily that you have to do that to be qualified. There's really no qualification about being spiritual. So therefore, spirituality, it just is. So it's just freedom. It just whatever that you want it to be, right? So you define your own spirituality. You define your own path. You choose your own path. So I do believe that you still have to believe in something in order to have a clear vision where you want to go in your life. And and doing meditation and yoga help you with that. Do I believe in reincarnation? Very good question, Claire. Yes, I do believe in reincarnation. I didn't in the beginning because I had a lot of doubt and questions about that. However, I have read books and research, very interesting research from a professor in Virginia that he has established a lot of research about reincarnation. Hi, Jim Wood. I don't know where Marco is. He's right behind me. So, so you can actually look up his research. I read a little bit about his research, and I thought that was really interesting. That he studied a lot of cases to basically his objective is to prove that reincarnation is wrong, that there is no such thing as reincarnation. But as he's go through the as he's go through the cases, he couldn't prove that that there's no reincarnation. So because he studies, so the studies was that he researched cases on children who could remember the past life, and through the stories that was told based on these children, they found significant evidence that these stories are true, even though it's not really popular. So it's a very, very interesting research, and I suggest that if you want to know more about reincarnation, then you can check it out. And the other case that another book that I read about reincarnation, because I didn't know like what to think about this either, but it just kind of makes sense to me, is I go on my study in spirituality, and this book is by Brian Weiss, and he's actually a very renowned hypnotherapist. So he does hypno and normal therapist as well, and I believe he's in the US, and he has a really popular book called Many Lives, Many Master. Is an amazing book, and because he was I think he was a doctor, and then he started doing hypnotherapist, and to his surprise then he discovered past life from a patient. So it's a very shocking but really interesting book. And I have recently heard a lot of research out there from very renowned doctors and scientists that has been doing different cases of near-death experience and also past life experience. So you can also check out Gaia as well. It does have like quite established documentaries about reincarnation and about past life and all that stuff. So, but I can give you more information about the reincarnation. If I find a link, I will put it in the description so you can check out the research from the professor in University of Virginia. I think that's the most significant case and research around reincarnation that we have so far in this era. That's the biggest proof that we have about reincarnation in this era. So okay, so hopefully I can give you some clarity around that, um, around religion and spirituality. So if you have any other insight, just don't be shy and leave in the comment of this video and let me know what you think. So the next question is from Richard NG. I don't know what is your last name, like Ang or something like that. I think it sounds very much like Singaporean. So, but let me read Richard's comment so that you can understand more about the background of his question. So, Richard said, you sell. This is a comment that he put in my video about the Asian family reaction. And she is in. Okay, thank you, Richard. So he said, you are very happy. Have you run into any difficulties in Canada? What about the cold weather? I have a van here in California and we'll start to build it for living in. I was a Navy photographer and would like to live my dream to travel around the country, seeing new places and enjoying my photography and meeting other people who have started this trend of giving up everything for a simpler lifestyle. It's very scary, isn't it? Were you scared first? When did you know it was going to be okay and your fear was less? I'm excited for this new journey, but also afraid or intimidated. And I really admire your courage and determination. Go, go, go. Thank you so much, Richard. I really like your last question there. When did you know it was going to be okay and your fear was less? Like when you ask me this question, like I know that you are also very critical thinking. um, because I have a few people that have asked me like very similar type of questions. So I know that it's very relatable. This is the way that people are thinking before jumping into this lifestyle. So I don't know where you are at this point in life, whether like you have started in your van life and whether you have overcome those fears. But in my experience, my insight about this question is this fear is this. I'm guessing that is the fear of unknown that you are experiencing because you are jumping into, you're on the verge of going to a new lifestyle, something that you never yet experienced in your life. So that is the fear of unknown. Because we are so used to manage our life in a way, so you used to manage your life in a way that is predictable. When it is predictable, then you basically can control your reaction and what you should do toward the situation. So that is something that we are used to. Now, if we put ourselves out of the box and go somewhere that we don't know, or live a lifestyle that we don't know, it's very scary. And I can totally understand where you come from and how you have that fear, because I used to be in that spot as well. This put me back to the time when I was in the US, when I lost my job and I didn't know what would happen to me because I didn't want to leave the US, but because my visa was expired and I was like, I had to leave the US. And at that point, I was like, I knew that staying here in this country, it didn't give me the freedom that I wanted. But leaving the country, leaving the US, I didn't know where I was going to go. So I didn't know what to do with my life. I didn't know whether I could achieve this freedom um, that I really, really wanted in my life. And that put me a lot of stress. And it's basically when you have this fear and you don't know what to do, you just become stagnated. And that's the reason why I had a lot of stress, and I couldn't really do anything. Um, but until I had to put myself out of that fear, then I realized that there's something more for me, and it's only up to me to decide what I want to do with it. So this fear is always gonna be there because this is the unknown area, and it's always gonna be there. Um, what happened that put you on this path? So that would be related to the next question that I'm going to explain. So this fear is always going to be there. There's nothing you can do about it. It just is. But on the other hand, you have this desire, and I'm guessing this is a desire to be free. You can tell me yes or no. It's a desire to be free. So the more you focus on this fear, and if that is the base of your decision, then the outcome of the fear of not being alone, okay, fear of not being alone. So the more you focus on this fear of not being alone, and you make decision out to create the circumstance or to the hi James, I'm glad you can join my live at this time at 3 p.m. That's quite unusual for you. So when you focus on this fear and make decision out of this fear, it's gonna put you in the situation and the circumstances to basically amplify this fear a lot more, which means you're gonna put because fear is basically a constricting and constricting energy. So it's gonna keep constricting until that everything is collapsed, and only then will you get to start to understand your desire will get a little louder, that this is your desire of freedom. So if you make your decision out of this fear, you just keep going in the circle that gonna put you in the circumstances that everything is gonna be so distracted that you're gonna keep feeling that desire even more. So it's all about your attention and your focus, where do you choose your direction. So if you continue to put your attention into this fear of being alone, then you're gonna keep going in the circle of creating the same circumstances, and you're gonna keep putting your life in that area. So do I keep fear out of my mind? You don't keep fear out of your mind, just acknowledge that it's always going to be there, but you don't have to pay attention to it. You can put your focus based on what you desire. And notice, is that the desire out of your heart that you truly want to be free, or is that the desire out of fear also? So if a desire out of fear, you're gonna keep creating the circumstances of putting into a destructive circumstance, right? That's gonna keep you going around in the circle. So if you truly have the desire to be free, so I can keep answering your questions more. So if you have the desire to be free and you focus on this desire, that's just when you get to create the life that you want, because it's an expensive energy. So when I was in the US, I had the choice whether uh, I could leave the US and live going into the unknown. It wasn't fear of being alone that kept me there, but it was the fear of unknown. So I'm just giving my example. Whatever fear that you may feel related to, you can put that in the example, right? But this is just my case. That was the fear of unknown, and I didn't know what my life would be if I left the U.S. because I lived there for so long. So I had three choices at that time. I could either get married illegally to stay in the U.S., or I could stay as an illegal immigrant, or I had to leave the country. So they are fears, right? So it's either I have to face my fear of unknown or my fear of losing the freedom, because I thought if I stay in the US, I wouldn't have, if I leave the US, I wouldn't have the freedom. But if I leave the US, like I would have to face that fear of unknown. So I choose to face this fear of unknown and knowing that I still have hope of finding my freedom in a different way. So when I focus in rather having hope than having the fear, my life changes like differently. And I started to create everything that I wanted based on what I already have and just focus, put my attention into what I truly desire, which is having the freedom that I want to build a life that I want to live. And I didn't want to have the restriction of others people put on me. And so I hope that clarify your questions. Hopefully that give you some ideas where you put your attention on. So to summarize it, your fear is always going to be there, and you're gonna always face a lot of fears and challenges in your life. So but you don't have to pay attention. You can acknowledge that you have these fears, but at the same time knowing what is it on the other scale, like, and is it like if this the desire that you want, then if you put your attention on this desire, would it give you a better life? Would it give you would you be able to create a better life and putting hope and dream into this desire instead of focusing on this fear? So okay, so I'm glad that you are able to understand that. So it's not like anything that is not going to feel less. It depends on, but you can be fearless if you don't have to focus on that fear. So the fearless come from yes, it's not about your focus. It's not about where you put your attention. So the more you put attention into your fear and make decision out of this fear, the more you're going to amplify it. The more that you put your attention into your desire and what you want to create out of life, the way that you truly want to live authentically, then that is what you're going to amplify in your life. So, okay. The next question is from Ruth Amo Cuevas. I hope I pronounced her name correctly. How do you make money to travel? And Boudica, you're welcome, Richard. And Boudica, what do you do for a living? So when Ruth and Boudica asked me this question, I'm guessing it's the questions about finance, about money and working on the road, like how you work as a nomad. In this sense, I used to have this kind of mindset as well when I first started van life. or even before I started freelance. So I'm guessing these two asked me these kind of questions to know whether it's possible for them to make money on the road and how they're able to sustain their life living this lifestyle. It's a very processing and analytical question, and I totally get it because I was in that position as well. I remember that I also asked the same questions to the Red Live community, and I was like, because my background is an engineer, and I used to work in biomedical and clinical engineering research in Boston. And so, but I always had the dream of being the nomad. And so I was like, how was it possible for me to be a nomad and working as an engineer at the same time? Because it's not something that you'll be able to do online. You have to be on the site. You have to go to the office like every single day. It's not possible to work from home. And that was the reason why I wanted to have the status, the citizenship, and the green card, whatever, in the U.S. Because I thought that if I earn that green card, I didn't have to stay in the country. I would have more freedom to travel and to go after my dream then. So I put myself, so as I share this example, it's also related to Richard's question when I was facing my fear as well. Because back then my desire is having the freedom. However, I was making on decisions out of the fear of losing a freedom. So that was the fear of loss. So I put myself in circumstances that I had to had high education and work at really prestigious and established companies, hospitals, institutions in order to earn this status, because I thought that if I earn this status, then I'll be able to prove myself high enough in order to have the green card to my understanding at that point, that was my ticket to freedom. Because I wanted to be a nomad, I wanted to travel around the world, and only the green card or being the first world citizen, as I thought back then, would give me that freedom to do what I wanted. So I sacrificed many years of my life chasing that status, and along the way I actually lost track, and I thought like I put myself so far in that direction that I did not even remember my dream anymore, that I wanted to, how much I wanted to travel and explore the world. And I thought that having the American dream, settling down, was the path for me. And so and as I went through the circumstances, because I always put myself in the position to restrict myself, to limit myself, to work just for the status, just to please other people. It's basically like if you imagine like a snowball keep like rolling down the hill, so the tension keep getting bigger and bigger in my mind and my shoulder, because it wasn't something that I really wanted to do, but I did it because for the status, and because I wanted to earn the freedom that so in order to earn the freedom, I, instead of expanding it, I actually restricting it and put myself in that circumstances that would restrict myself to freedom even more. So I keep restricting myself so much that is eventually like everything had to break down and everything has to collapse, and I just lost everything at that point. So long story short, I realized that engineering, because of that experience, I realized that engineering wasn't my path, and I didn't want to continue my career as an engineer anymore. So as I thought of being a nomad, um, when I started on this nomad journey, I really asked myself a lot whether I still want to be an engineer, and the answer is no. So my desire to be a nomad is now more than my desire to be an engineer, because I have come to the point of not having anything, and because I didn't have anything, I didn't have to prove myself or to go chase for that status anymore. Instead, I want to do something that fully support my dream of being a nomad. So what have I been doing? So how do I make money to travel? So I just be creative. So when people ask me these questions, instead of instead of focusing, because even I give you the answer what I have been doing, not necessarily is something that you want to do either, right? So it's really, if you twist these questions around, instead of asking other people what they do for a living or how they make money for the living, because I was in that case as well. So I actually turned it around and I asked myself how I can make money in a way that it can support me to live this lifestyle, regardless what other people do. Because I asked so many people. I also researched a bunch of different things, but like nothing really like other people do. I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like a lot of people being on YouTube, but now I realize, oh, I don't want to be a YouTuber. I don't want to make money out of that. And and many other people work online by selling things online, and I didn't feel like those are the things that I want to sell online either. So it didn't really work for me, no matter how many times I asked and searched for. It's like when you ask this question, you try to seek for an answer that you already know that it's not going to work for you. So I have to be creative, and I decided that I would have to start something with what I like, and I would just envision how this lifestyle is going to work out for me in a way that is balanced my finance and my travel, my passion for traveling. And so you it's basically the game of balance. So you do whatever you can to make it work. And for me, I love coffee, and so I just go inside of myself to go sell coffee, or I work as a barista. That was something that I used to do in the past, and I just keep asking myself, like, what is it that I want to learn right now, and what is it that I'm passionate about right now, in order to do the work that I want to do. At the same time, I don't have to sacrifice so much, and I still get to live this lifestyle, because this is a lifestyle that I know I chose this because I knew this is a lifestyle that's going to give me the time that I can reflect on myself, to get to know myself, so that I can figure out my career path and my life purpose from there. So for me, I didn't focus so much about, for the last 2 or 3 years, I didn't focus so much about being rich or making a bunch of money. I wanted to have enough, but I wanted to have enough to live by, but also to be safe in a way that I can actually support myself, and that I still have the time to get to know myself. So that's something that I didn't want to sacrifice. Like, I make sure that I have that time to travel, to learn about myself, and even the work that I do, it starts something that am passionate about, something that I want to learn more, even though it doesn't make a lot of money. So that's where I started, from the bottom ground, and just be creative with it. Creative with your spending, be creative with your problem solving. So that's my suggestions. Like if you focus so much about for other people advice about finance and what you want to do while you're traveling, if you're looking into this lifestyle, start asking yourself like what skills you have in order, what skills you have or what you want to learn more, and how you're able to actually live this lifestyle while still living out your passion. And stop focusing so much on what other people do for their life, because what worked for them may not necessarily work for you either. So hopefully I answer on your questions and that it makes sense and that is just helpful for you. So like I said earlier, like I really appreciate all your questions and your comments. So keep them coming into my videos on my channels. And if anything else that I feel like I have the insight or I have the knowledge about it, then I would share, just so it can make your life better and easier. And yeah, that's all I have for now. So, and I would have to go catch on to another meeting. And I wish you a great day and start going out there and live the life that you love. Okay, bye everyone.